6:45 a.m. My alarm doesn't wake me up. A person does. Her name is Miss Delgado. She's been waking me up every single day since I was 4 years old. Not my mom, not my dad, Miss Delgado. I have never once used my own alarm clock, and that's the smallest, most boring detail about my life that nobody would ever believe. My name doesn't matter. What matters is my last name. It's on 3 buildings in this city, a hospital wing and a scholarship fund that changes lives, according to the plaque anyway. I was born into $2.8 billion. I didn't earn a single dollar of it. I didn't even know what net worth meant until I was 7, when a kid at school told me my dad owned his dad's company. I went home and asked my mother if that was true. She didn't answer. She just said, "Don't talk about money at school." That was lesson number 1. There would be many more. This is what a day in my life actually looks like, not the version people imagine, the real one. Breakfast is at 7:15. Not because I'm hungry at 7:15, because the schedule says 7:15. There's a chef. His name is Marcus. He's brilliant, trained in Paris, could run his own Michelin-starred restaurant. Instead, he makes me the same egg white omelet every morning, because my nutritionist, yes, I have a nutritionist and I'm 17, designed a performance meal plan for me. I asked Marcus once if he ever gets bored making the same thing every day for a teenager. He smiled and said, "It's not my place to say, sir." Sir. A grown man, twice my age, calls me sir. I used to think that was normal. It took me until I was maybe 12 to realize it wasn't, that most kids don't have someone call them sir before they've even brushed their teeth. My father is already gone by the time I'm downstairs, on a call with Singapore or Zurich or wherever the money needs him that day. I haven't had breakfast with him in over a year. Not because he doesn't love me, because love, in this house, got scheduled somewhere between 2 acquisitions and a board meeting, and it never quite made it back onto the calendar. I don't take the bus, obviously. There's a driver, David, and 2 men in the front seat who I'm told are consultants, but who I know are security. They've been with me since a kidnapping threat when I was 9. I don't remember the threat. I just remember that after it happened, I was never alone in a car again. At school, a private one, obviously, tuition higher than most people's yearly salary, I have exactly 4 real friends. I know they're real because I tested them. I told them once that my father was cutting me off, that the money was gone. 3 of them stopped texting me within a week. The 4th one, a kid named Theo, said, "Okay, want to still get pizza Friday?" Theo doesn't know it, but he's the most valuable person in my entire life. More valuable than the buildings, more valuable than the trust fund, and he has no idea. Everyone else, they laugh at my jokes a little too hard. They agree with me a little too fast. I've learned to watch people's eyes when they meet me for the first time. The second they hear my last name, something changes, a tiny recalibration, like they're doing quiet math behind their smile. I was 13 the first time I understood that people were being nice to my money, not to me. After school, I don't go home. I go to enrichment. Monday, Mandarin tutor. Tuesday, piano. I hate piano. I've hated it for 9 years. I'm still forced to play it because my grandmother believes a cultured heir plays an instrument. Wednesday, fencing. Thursday, a session with a man named Dr. Ilsley, who is technically a leadership coach, but is really there to prepare me, psychologically, to one day run a company I never asked to inherit. I asked my father once if I could just quit piano. He looked at me like I'd asked to quit breathing. "You don't understand what you're being prepared for," he said. He was right. I didn't understand it. I still don't most days. Nobody sat me down and asked what I wanted to be prepared for. It was simply decided, the way weather is decided, something that happens to you, not something you choose. There's a phrase people love to use about kids like me, "must be nice." Here's the part they don't see. I have never once, not one single day of my life, chosen my own schedule. Someone else decides what I eat, who drives me, what I study, who I'm allowed to be friends with, which of my accomplishments are acceptable for the family name. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and less freedom than the kid who mows our lawn.
Dinner, when it happens with my parents at all, is a performance. My mother asks about my grades. My father asks about my trajectory, a word he uses instead of life. We eat in a dining room built for 22 people, and it's just the three of us. And somehow it still feels crowded, because every silence is full of things nobody says. I love my parents. I need to say that clearly, because this isn't a sob story about villains. My father grew up with nothing, actual nothing, a childhood he still won't talk about, and he built all of this with his own hands out of pure terror of ever being poor again. He gave me every material thing he never had. He just never learned how to give me the one thing he also never had, a childhood where somebody just showed up. No schedule, no agenda, just showed up. Some nights I sit in my room, bigger than most people's entire apartment, and I feel something I've never been able to explain to anyone at school because they'd think I was insane for saying it. I feel invisible in the most visible life imaginable. Everyone knows my name. Nobody knows me.
Here's what nobody tells you about being born into a billionaire family. The money isn't the inheritance, not really. The real inheritance is the pressure. It's inheriting a version of yourself that was decided before you were born. The heir, the successor, the name on the building. You spend your whole childhood being groomed for a role, and somewhere in that grooming, the actual person, the one who might have loved painting instead of piano, who might have wanted to be a teacher instead of a CEO, quietly disappears. I found an old journal of my father's once, from before he had money. One line stuck with me more than anything else in my entire life. I just want my kids to never have to worry about anything. He got exactly what he wanted. I never worry about money. I worry about everything else instead.
So next time you see a kid step out of a private car, dressed in something that costs more than a car payment, walking into a mansion with a name attached to it, don't assume you know their life. You're seeing the version everyone's allowed to see. You're not seeing Miss Delgado waking them up instead of their mother. You're not seeing the friend count that drops to 1 the moment the money's gone. You're not seeing a father who loves his son so much he forgot to actually be there for him. Being born into $1 billion doesn't buy you a childhood. It just buys you a very, very expensive substitute for one. If this hit different, you'll want to watch how your own family treats you when you become the first millionaire next.